Readiness is not going to come from preparing with information, reading books, watching podcasts. You can have all the knowledge in the world, but none of that knowledge is actually going to serve you unless you're willing to be bad, unless you're willing to attempt, unless you're willing to take action, regardless of how you feel. That not being ready feeling comes from a lack of confidence because you never give yourself the opportunity to even try. And for a lot of us, that's a hard truth to swallow because it's something that we avoid. Because when we admit that we're waiting to feel ready, we also have to admit that we're scared of looking bad. When you're scared of trying and not knowing what the hell you're doing, you're scared of someone else seeing you at mile 1 instead of mile 50. But at some point, everybody's at mile 1. Nobody just starts something. Very few people in the world rather just start something and are just so naturally gifted at it that they're immediately ahead of most people. Most people have to practice, drill, repeat nonstop consistently until they can no longer forget the information, until what they are looking to do becomes foundational, even maybe part of their DNA. So those people that practice, drill, and rehearse and continue to show up, even if they look bad or might have somebody see them at the beginning stages of what they're looking to accomplish, it's the proving ground to show this is the person that I'm looking to become. So if you don't take those actions on a daily basis, who are you really becoming? And I think that we decide for ourselves that readiness is something that is a prerequisite to becoming someone. Readiness doesn't have to be a prerequisite for becoming someone. Taking action, regardless of how you feel, and having courage is a prerequisite to becoming someone at a high level in anything. Let's just say, with boxing, you have to be able to step in the ring and be willing to get punched in the face. When you climb into the ring for the first time, nothing prepares you for what your brain and your body are going to react like when you get that first clean shot. You could talk to people about it. You can learn from other people that have sparred or fought before. You could study boxing and watch a fight. You could shadow box. But until somebody actually hits you in the face, you don't know how your body and your brain are going to respond under that pressure. You don't know who you are in that moment. A lot of times, people that first start boxing, what happens is the first time they get really hit hard, they get angry. Because if it wasn't hard enough to knock them out or hurt them, it immediately becomes your ego bubbling up to the surface and being like, I have to get this guy back. But that over aggression is something that you have to learn how to control. You genuinely have to learn how to control that level of aggression so that way you can keep thinking, keep being strategic. You don't even know that that's a thing before you give yourself the opportunity to go into the ring and put the gloves on and put headgear on and spar or do anything for the first time because you've never experienced what it's like to do it and to fail at it. You don't know how you're going to respond. So that readiness, it's the same thing even in business and in your career, in your relationships, personally, professionally. There's a version of you that you discover only after you get quote unquote punched, only after you step in before you feel ready. And I think about like the biggest decisions in my own life, to become an entrepreneur, to become a boxer, to run 1,000 miles a year, to get married, to do all these things that require you to have courage and to step in and know that no matter what comes your way, you're going to be able to handle it. There's that certain level of confidence that you gain also from being courageous over time, regardless of how ready you feel. You're going to develop confidence because you understand what it feels like to be courageous on a regular basis and take action regardless of what comes my way. You don't know what you might get hit with in the boxing ring or what somebody's going to do, what style they're going to have, how much more gas they might have than you, how much stronger they might be, how much better of an inside fighter or outside fighter they may be. But you only learn that by stepping in. So, even like launching Great American Underdog, I had every reason in the world, just like anybody, to say, okay, that sounds like a great idea, and just add it to the list of ideas that never actually come to fruition. If you don't go do it, you're never going to do it. Like, for example, with the podcast, I might not have the right camera, the right equipment. I might not have an audience. I started from absolute scratch. I didn't have anybody know what Great American Underdog was. And then today, between Instagram and YouTube, there's almost 700 people that interact and follow Great American Underdog, not to include the almost 100,000 views that it's gotten since I've started in combination between all of my content. So I just had that calling or that feeling in the back of my mind saying that there were people out there who needed real stories and needed real conversations. So if I didn't say yes and take that leap before I was ready, maybe you'd never hear them. I'd never get the opportunity to meet so many amazing people that came into my life as a result of just getting started, regardless of how ready I felt. What would have happened if you never took your last leap in your life, right? Like, where would your life be right now if you waited to feel prepared before you acted? Think about your career. Think about your athletic life. Think about your family, business, relationships, networking. Whatever it is that you might be doing, at some point, you had to take a leap of faith into something that you had no idea about. And you had to build the skills that now all of a sudden seem second nature to you. A lot of times I equate this to like hitting a speed bag. My dad growing up had a speed bag in our basement since we were young, way before I even started boxing. And I remember he used to get out a wooden bench, like a wooden milk crate almost. And he used to put it right under where the speed bag was. And he had built, because he was a carpenter, he had built a octagonal, like hard wooden piece where he had the ball hanging from. So the bounce was correct. It was flat and even all the way around the board, so it wouldn't bounce off funny. And then I just remember like getting up on that milk crate and going boom, 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 and learning how to listen to the bag, right? Because it has a natural rhythm to it. When you're hitting that bag and it's just going off, if you start adding more power, the rhythm changes. So at first, if you're going with the same rhythm, it's boom, boom, boom. But if I add more power, it immediately goes boom, 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 boom. Right? It kind of sounds like a song, but honestly, it's rhythm changes. And I had to learn that from a young age. And once I did, all of a sudden, I started understanding the rhythm of it. No matter how many times I hit the bag and it went off sideways, hitting it at 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, all the times that I messed up and I just stayed there and I would stand on that milk crate and I'd hit the bag. And that, as I got older, all the way to right now at 34 years old, if I go and hit a speed bag, I can hit it with my eyes closed because I can listen to it. I understand where the bag is going to be as long as I hit it straight. So you have the listening element, and then you have the technique that comes with your hand. So many people go to hit the bag and they put their arm out and then they bring it all the way back. And they're making this giant circle with their hand. And you really have to make small, consistent circles with your hand as you hit it. You have to make sure that you're hitting it with the flat part of your hand, especially at first. So you're hitting the bag straight every single time the same way. And when I would teach people, I would even teach them from the karate chop the bag, right? Like hit it like flat like this and open their hand, and just teach them how to keep the elbow up and make those circles continuously with their hand until they got it. So all this to say, the amount of muscle memory and that foundation that I built, because one day I didn't know how to hit a speed bag, and then I continued to do it, and it became something that became muscle memory for me and something that I will never forget for as long as I live. We underestimate also how dangerous waiting can be. We think staying still is at least neutral, but like when you are waiting to take action, you're just rowing in place. You're not going backwards. You're not going forwards. You're just going against the current and your boat's not really moving. You look to your left, you look to your right, same tree over there, same riverbank over on that side. Nothing's changed. So your waiting is also causing you to grow doubt and insecurity. And it grows that distance between where you're trying to get down that river, right? The longer you wait to feel ready, the longer that distance is between who you are right now and who you're really meant to become. And once you start taking action, even if you fail, you're gonna all of a sudden be able to course correct. Because if you're able to self-identify, you're open-minded enough, you have enough self-awareness to go back and look and say, okay, I took action, I failed, what happened? Assess your emotions, assess your ego, assess the people that might have been involved, assess your process and your planning. Or look at all these different categories that led up to your action, and don't ridicule yourself about them, but be able to look back and say, okay, where could I have made positive adjustments? But you're only going to figure that out when you actually start taking the action, and then it's going to actually row you forward. I'm sure you've heard the phrase, I take one step forward and then two steps back. Well, imagine you flip that on its head because you took action. So now maybe you take one step back, but because you attempted, and even though you failed, that propels you to take two steps forward. And now you're moving yourself along little by little down the road, but towards where you're looking to go. And then every time you win, the crazy thing is it compounds, it multiplies, it becomes exponentially greater because every time you start winning more, all of a sudden those leaps become larger because your confidence grows. Maybe the relationships that you've been investing in for so long with people that you genuinely want to serve, people that you really want to see win, all of a sudden you start collaborating with them. You start finding ways to win together, to help other people win. And then now all of a sudden you look back in 6 months, a year's time, and all these compounded moments where you took action and failed and then took action again and you leapfrogged from where you were, you get closer to those outcomes and those goals that you're looking to achieve. But if you never start, if you never actually start to row against the current, you just stay in place, or you just start to fall backwards through doubt, despair, feeling like you're stuck, feeling like you're alone, feeling like you're isolated in your journey, feeling like you can't do it, feeling like you're inadequate, feeling like it's never going to work out for me. You have to flip those thoughts on their head and say, I'm going to take action no matter what happens on the other side of that action. I'm either going to win or I'm going to learn. And then I'm going to come back stronger as a result of it, more confident, thicker skin, and be able to move forward regardless. And that's what makes some of the people that you look up to in your life, athletes, celebrities, all these different people got to where they are because they took action, failed, took action, failed, and just kept going and didn't wait to be ready. So the part I really want you to hear more than anything again is that you don't build confidence by collecting information. You build confidence by collecting experiences, whether they're wins, lessons, failures that turned into lessons. You start to show yourself that you can get in the ring and get punched and then keep moving forward. You build confidence by watching yourself step forward, regardless of how hard you got hit, when everything in you is wanting to pull back. When you hear people talk about fighters having a lot of heart, that's what they talk about. It's the fighter that gets hit and then just keeps moving forward. So if you're watching this right now, there's something that you've been delaying, something you've been putting off until the timing feels better, or the fear dies down, or the stars align for you, or you spend more days doing affirmations without taking any action, follow them. I want you to be honest with yourself, because it's not that you're not ready. Are you just waiting for permission? And if you are waiting for permission, let this be your permission. Start the thing, make the call, shoot the video, open the freaking business, have the hard conversation, put yourself in motion, because regardless if you finish it today, you're at least moving towards it. Micro actions. Everybody thinks like these goals that they have, they're so big that they're so unobtainable that it feels like such an undertaking to go after. When realistically, if you're able to reverse engineer where you want to go, I talk about this all the time. If you can reverse engineer where you want to go and break that down into micro actions, you will get there a lot of times way quicker than you anticipated. So the second that you take that step, the second you step into the unknown, you become the kind of person who figures things out along the way. You become this kind of person that starts thinking of themselves as someone who is solution oriented, who's always looking for solutions instead of somebody that's always finding the problem, always finding the reason that they're not ready yet. And if you're an underdog, that's an advantage because you thrive in environments where other people are just going to freeze. You're going to take action. You're going to step into the cold plunge when other people are just going to dip their toe. You're going to get stronger in those moments where other people back up and you lean in. You make progress in that same space where most people talk themselves out of trying. So whatever you've been holding back on, this is your moment to step forward regardless, not when it feels right, not when you feel ready. Just take the action and see what happens. Because I promise you, on the other side of that action is going to be something for you. No matter what it is, it's going to be something that you're going to be able to use to grow from and to prepare yourself for whatever that next level in life is for you. And most importantly, who you want to become. I can guarantee you from my own experience, there's tons of things on the other side of that courage that are worthwhile. That's where your transformation lives. That's where your next chapter starts. And that's when the real you finally gets revealed.